Four rich men refuse to pay the waitress until the Mafia boss shows up behind them. The bill sat on the table. $372. Maya Chin's hands trembled as she reached for it, her fingers brushing the leather holder before Preston Whitmore, 3, snatched it away, laughing like she'd just performed the world's funniest magic trick. "We're not paying, sweetheart. What are you going to do about it?" His 3 friends erupted in laughter that bounced off the restaurant's exposed brick walls, phones materializing in their hands like weapons, recording her humiliation in high definition for social media content they'd caption with something clever and cruel. Maya's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall, because crying in front of these men would give them exactly what they wanted. Her voice came out steady despite the earthquake in her chest. "You have to pay for what you ordered." Preston stood up, 6'1" of entitlement in a suit that cost more than her car, and leaned close enough that she could smell the $200 a bottle wine on his breath. "Or what? You'll call the cops? Good luck with that. My father plays golf with the police commissioner. His crew love this." Chad Berkeley filming closer. Trevor Ashton making exaggerated sad faces at the camera. Silas Hunt literally applauding like this was theater. Then a voice cut through the noise like a blade through silk, deep and cold and absolutely certain, coming from somewhere behind the 4 men who'd been too busy performing cruelty to notice the door opening. "I believe the lady asked you a question." Lorenzo Marcetti stood there in the entrance, and the temperature in the room dropped 30 degrees. "Before we go any further, I need to know something. Where are you watching this from right now? What city are you in? What time is it where you are? Drop it in the comments, because you're about to witness something that'll make you believe justice still exists in this world. Hit that subscribe button right now. Don't wait. Don't scroll past. Because what happens next is going to restore your faith that some people still protect the innocent, still stand up to bullies, still make entitled monsters face consequences. This story is about to explode. You ready? Let's go back 8 hours to where this nightmare really started. Maya's alarm went off at 5 in the morning in the apartment she shared with her 6-year-old daughter Lily and her mother in a neighborhood where sirens were the soundtrack and hope was a luxury most people couldn't afford. She'd been waitressing at Torino's Italian restaurant for 4 years, working doubles most days, sending 70% of her paycheck to cover Lily's asthma medication that insurance barely touched and rent that kept climbing while her wages stayed frozen. The best server in the restaurant according to customer reviews, but that excellence never translated to raises or respect from management. Just more shifts, more tables, more opportunities to smile through disrespect for tips that made the difference between keeping the lights on or sitting in darkness. Today was Lily's birthday. 7 years old. Maya had promised her a cake from the bakery with the fancy frosting, the kind other kids got at their parties, the kind Maya had never tasted as a child because her own mother had been too busy surviving to afford celebrations. She needed this double shift, needed every dollar, needed to prove to her daughter that hard work meant something even when evidence suggested otherwise. Torino's catered to Wall Street types, men in expensive suits who treated waiters like furniture that occasionally brought food, women with handbags that cost more than Maya's monthly rent who snapped their fingers like summoning servants. Giuseppe Torino, Gino to everyone, ran the place with old-school philosophy that the customer was always right even when the customer was clearly, objectively, morally wrong. Respect them and they'll tip well, he'd say, ignoring the fact that respect was a one-way transaction in his establishment. Maya had learned to swallow her dignity in pieces small enough not to choke on. Smile when they were rude. Apologize when they were unreasonable. Accept tips that didn't match the service because something was better than nothing and pride didn't pay for inhalers. Her shift started at 11. Sofia Rodriguez caught her in the kitchen before she hit the floor, concern written across her face in the universal language of servers who'd survived too many nightmare tables. Table 12 just sat down. The Whitmore crew. Maya's stomach dropped. She knew the reputation. Last month, they'd stiffed Jessica Martinez on a $400 tab, claimed the service was terrible even though Jessica was meticulous, and Gino had sided with them because the Whitmore family supposedly owned the building and angering them meant angering the landlord. Jessica quit 2 weeks later, found work at a diner that paid less but didn't require her to endure abuse as a job qualification. Be careful, Sophia said, squeezing Maya's hand with solidarity that wouldn't translate to intervention if things went south. Everyone protected themselves first in places like this. Maya nodded, grabbed her order pad, walked out to table 12 with her professional smile locked in place like armor made of paper. For men in their mid-20s sat there like conquerors surveying territory they'd already claimed. Preston Whitmore, 3, held court at the head, blonde hair styled with product that probably cost $50, a smile that had never encountered real consequences, surrounded by his crew of enablers who laughed at his jokes before he finished delivering punchlines. Chad with the nervous energy of someone desperate to belong. Trevor with dead eyes that suggested empathy had been surgically removed. Silas with the build of someone who'd never been told no by anyone who mattered. They'd already been drinking glasses of bourbon at 11 in the morning because time was a construct for people who didn't have to work for money. Maya approached the table. "Good afternoon, gentlemen. Can I start you with some water, or would you prefer to see the wine list?" Preston didn't look at her, kept scrolling his phone. His friends kept talking like she was invisible. She waited. 10 seconds. 20. 30. Finally, Preston glanced up with annoyance that she dared to exist in his presence. "Yeah, we need more time. Come back in like 10 minutes. Or 15. Whenever." Maya smiled. "Of course. Take your time." She came back in 10 minutes. They weren't ready. 15 minutes. Still talking, still ignoring her. 20 minutes. Preston snapped his fingers. Literally snapped them like summoning a dog. "We're ready now. Pay attention next time." Maya's jaw clenched, but her smile held. "What can I get for you?" They ordered the most expensive everything. Tomahawk steaks cooked rare. A bottle of Burlo that cost $300. Appetizers that would feed a family. Modifications to every dish that would make the kitchen staff hate her, even though none of it was her fault. Preston wanted a steak butterfly cut, but not too thin, medium rare, but closer to rare, seasoned but not too much salt, plated beautifully but not pretentiously. Maya wrote it all down, repeated it back perfectly. Preston waved her away mid-confirmation. Yeah, we trust you. Don't screw it up." The kitchen hated the order, as predicted. The chef threw a towel when he saw the modifications. Maya apologized even though she'd done nothing wrong, because apologizing was her job apparently. The food came out perfect. She delivered with pride. Preston cut into his steak, chewed once, made a face like he'd been poisoned. "This is wrong. It's overcooked. I said rare." Maya looked at the steak. It was perfect. Rare as ordered. "I can have the kitchen remake it if you'd like." Preston pushed the plate toward her. "You do that. And make it fast this time. We don't have all day." She took the plate back. The chef looked at it and exploded. "There's nothing wrong with this. It's exactly what he ordered." Maya knew. But the customer is always right in Gino's world, so she apologized to the chef and asked him to make another one. He did, angrier. The second steak came out. Preston took one bite. "Still wrong. Getting worse, actually. Maybe your kitchen doesn't know how to cook." His friends laughed. Chad took a photo of the rejected steak for his Instagram story with a caption Maya couldn't see, but could imagine. This pattern continued for 3 hours. They sent back multiple dishes, demanded wine they hadn't ordered, claiming Maya got it wrong even though she had the order written down, spilled drinks deliberately, and made her clean them up while they filmed her on her knees soaking up liquid with towels, Chad angling for the most demeaning shot possible. Trevor asked invasive questions about her personal life. "You got a boyfriend? Bet you're real grateful for tips, huh? Bet you do anything for good tips." The implications hung in the air like smoke. Maya ignored them, kept smiling, kept serving, checked her phone during a bathroom break, and saw a text from Lily. "Mommy, when are you coming home? I miss you." Maya typed back quickly. "Soon, baby. Mommy's working hard to get you something special." Another text came through seconds later. "Grandma says we can't afford my cake." "It's okay, Mommy. I don't need one." Maya locked herself in a stall and cried silently for 30 seconds. Then washed her face, reapplied her smile, went back to the table. The bill finally came. $372. 3 hours of service. 3 hours of abuse. 3 hours of performing dignity while they stripped hers away piece by piece for entertainment. Maya placed the leather holder on the table with hands that had started shaking somewhere around hour 2. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed everything. Preston picked up the bill, examined it like it was written in a foreign language, laughed, showed it to his friends. They all laughed harder. This seems a bit, how don't you think, boys? Trevor nodded enthusiastically. Definitely excessive. Chad agreed. Way too much for that quality of service. Silas delivered the killing blow. Food was cold anyway. Maya's heart started pounding. The bill is itemized. Everything you ordered is listed there with prices from the menu. Preston stood up. So was the service. And the service was terrible. You were slow, rude, got our orders wrong multiple times. We're not paying this. Maya felt the room tilt. Not from surprise. From rage mixed with desperation, mixed with disbelief that this was actually happening. You ate everything. You drank everything. You have to pay for what you consumed. Preston stepped closer, invaded her space, used his height as a weapon. Or what? You'll call the cops? He pulled out his phone, showed her a photo of his father shaking hands with the police commissioner at some charity event. My dad and the commissioner are very close. They golf together. So go ahead. Call them. See what happens. His friends moved to flank him. 4 against 1. All of them filming now, making content out of her suffering. Trevor started a TikTok live stream. Check this out, guys. Waitress thinks she can threaten us. Watch this. Comments started flooding in from viewers who had no context, just cruelty. Maya's voice cracked, but she didn't back down. Please, I need this money. I have a daughter. It's her birthday today. I need to pay for her medication and her cake, and I worked 3 hours serving you, and you can't just steal from me. Preston's face showed mock sympathy that was somehow worse than open cruelty. Oh no, guys, she has a daughter. Should we care? Chad delivered his line on cue. Not our problem, you made bad life choices. Trevor added his contribution. Maybe get a real job instead of begging for tips. Silas suggested they leave her a penny. That's generous considering the service. They started walking toward the exit. 4 men in $1,000 suits, stealing $300 from a woman who made $9 an hour plus tips. Maya looked desperately toward the bar where Gino was pretending to organize receipts. Mr. Torino, please. They're stealing. You have to do something. Gino approached, but his face told her everything before he opened his mouth. Maya, maybe there was a mistake with the bill. Let's just let these gentlemen go. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. There's no mistake. They ate everything, drank everything. They owe this money. Gino leaned close, whispered urgently. The Whitmore family owns this building. I can't afford problems with them. Let it go. Take it out of your tips if you have to. Maya felt something break inside her that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with realizing she was truly alone in this. Her boss wouldn't help. Her co-workers couldn't help. The system that was supposed to protect workers like her had been bought and paid for by families like the Whitmores, who could do whatever they wanted without consequence. She blocked the door anyway. One more time. You're not leaving until you pay what you owe. Preston got her face. Close enough that she could count his pores. Close enough to be threatening without technically touching her. Move. Now. Or I'll have you arrested for assault. For blocking my path. For harassment. My father's lawyers will destroy you. You'll lose everything. This job. Custody of your daughter probably. Want to test me? His hand raised. Not to hit her. To push her aside. His palm hovered inches from her shoulder. The violation hadn't happened yet, but the threat was clear. Maya stood frozen, unable to move forward, unable to back down, trapped between dignity and survival. The door opened. A man walked in from the street. Not rushing, not dramatic, just walking at normal pace, but something about him made everyone freeze like someone had paused time. 6'2", salt and pepper hair that looked intentionally styled, but effortlessly so. A suit that made Preston's expensive outfit look like a costume from a discount store. Eyes that had seen things these boys couldn't imagine and done things their worst nightmares couldn't conjure. He stopped directly behind the 4 men. Didn't announce himself. Just stood there. The entire restaurant went silent. Even the kitchen noise seemed to dim. Other diners suddenly found their plates fascinating. Sophia grabbed another server's arm hard enough to bruise. Oh my God, that's Lorenzo Marcetti. Preston turned around, annoyed that someone had interrupted his performance. "Can we help you?" His tone suggested the answer should be no. Lorenzo's voice came out quiet, conversational, terrifying in its calmness. "I believe the lady asked you a question. About payment. I'm curious to hear your answer." Preston laughed nervously. "This doesn't concern you, old man. Mind your business." Lorenzo didn't react to the insult, just kept staring with eyes that could freeze blood. Behind him, the door opened again, and Matteo Rossi entered. 6'5" of muscle and scar tissue and loyalty that came from decades of standing next to Lorenzo through wars Preston couldn't comprehend. Now Preston's confidence started cracking. His brain started working, trying to place the face, trying to understand why everyone in the restaurant looked terrified except the man standing in front of him. Gino appeared like he'd been summoned. Actually, he probably had been through some signal Maya hadn't seen. "Mr. Marcetti, please, there's no problem here. Just a small misunderstanding about a bill." Lorenzo's eyes didn't leave Preston's face. "Is that what this is, Giuseppe? A misunderstanding?" Preston's phone was still in his hand. Chad had the sense to Google the name. His face went white. He showed the screen to Trevor, who showed it to Silas, who actually whimpered. Preston saw their reactions, looked at the phone, saw the search results. Lorenzo, the architect Marcetti, alleged head of the Marcetti crime family. Multiple investigations. No convictions. Connections that ran through every level of city government like roots through soil. The man standing in front of him wasn't just dangerous. He was untouchable. Preston's mouth went dry. His expensive education finally produced something useful. You're. He couldn't finish the sentence. Terror had stolen his vocabulary. Lorenzo tilted his head slightly. "I'm waiting for an answer to the lady's question. Did you or did you not consume food and beverages at this establishment?" Preston nodded frantically. "We did, but the service was terrible, and we don't think we should have to pay for bad service." Lorenzo's expression didn't change. "So you believe poor service justifies theft? That's an interesting philosophy. Let me share mine." He took one step forward. Preston took 2 steps back, bumped into Chad, who'd been trying to edge toward the door. "In my world, when you consume something, you pay for it. When someone provides a service, you compensate them. When you make an agreement, you honor it. These aren't complicated principles. Children understand them. So either you four are less intelligent than children or you're thieves. Which is it?" Preston tried to salvage the situation with the only weapon he had left. His father's name. "Do you know who my father is?" "Preston Whitmore, Jr. He runs Whitmore Capital. He has connections all over the city. He knows people, important people." Lorenzo pulled out his phone without breaking eye contact. Dialed a number. Put on speaker. The phone rang twice before a voice answered, older, refined, immediately anxious when he heard who was calling. "Lorenzo, what can I do for you?" Lorenzo's voice stayed conversational. "Preston, I'm standing here with your son. He's refusing to pay a bill at a restaurant, claiming you have connections that matter. Want to explain that to me?" The silence on the other end lasted 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours. Then Preston Whitmore Sr.'s voice came through the speaker, angry and desperate and terrified. "Put my son on the phone. Right now. Lorenzo." Lorenzo handed the phone to Preston Jr., whose hand shook so badly he almost dropped it. The speaker stayed on. Everyone in the restaurant could hear. Preston's voice came out small. "That I can explain." His father's response was immediate and brutal. "You idiot. You complete idiot. Do you have any idea who you're talking to? Do you understand what you've done?" Preston tried to defend himself. "We were just having fun. The service really was bad," and his father cut him off. "I don't care if she spit in your food. Pay whatever Mr. Marcetti asks. Apologize. Get on your knees if you have to. And then you're coming to my office, and we're having a conversation about your future. If you still have one." The line went dead. Preston stared at the phone like it had betrayed him. His friends looked at each other with the dawning realization that Daddy wasn't going to save them this time. That money had limits. That they'd found the boundary where privilege stopped mattering. Lorenzo took his phone back, slipped it into his pocket with movements so casual they seemed choreographed. "Now, let's discuss how this is going to work. You four will pay the bill, with a 100% tip." Preston started to protest, but Lorenzo held up one finger and the words died in Preston's throat. I'm not finished. You'll also pay Miss Chan what you would have tipped if you were decent human beings. Let's call that another $200. Chad found his voice for the first time. That's almost $900 total. Lorenzo's smile was not comforting. Correct. And cheap considering what you cost her today. The humiliation, the fear, the tears she cried in the bathroom when she thought no one was watching. Yes, I know about that. I know everything that happens in establishments I care about. Trevor whispered to Preston urgently. Just pay. We need to leave. But Preston's ego hadn't been completely destroyed yet. Still had enough structural integrity to attempt one final stand. This is extortion. I could call the police. Report this. Lorenzo's smile widened. You could, and I know the chief quite well. We'll have coffee while you explain why you're stealing from working mothers. He pulled out his own phone, showed a photo of him and the police chief at what looked like a charity gala. Both smiling, arms around each other like old friends. The chief's daughter works as a server actually, at a place across town. I'm sure he'd be very interested in your philosophy about how service workers should be treated. Preston realized he was trapped. No escape route. No authority to appeal to. No money that mattered more than Lorenzo's influence. He pulled out his black card with hands that trembled so badly the card slipped twice before he got a grip on it. Lorenzo took the card from him gently, like taking a toy from a child. I'll handle this. You four sit down. It wasn't a suggestion. They sat, returned to their table like children sent to timeout. The entire restaurant watched in silence. This was theater, just as performance art. Lorenzo walked over to Maya, who'd been standing frozen this entire time, trying to process what was happening. She looked up at him with eyes that held confusion and gratitude and disbelief in equal measure. What's your name? His voice was gentle now, nothing like the cold authority he'd used on the four men. Maya. Maya, Chun. Lorenzo nodded once. Maya. I eat here every Tuesday. You've served me 17 times. You're always professional, kind, efficient. You deserve better than this. Maya's voice came out barely above a whisper. Thank you. I just needed the money for my daughter's birthday. Lorenzo's expression softened in ways that suggested he understood something about that specific pain. How old? 6. Today. I'm working a double shift to afford her cake and her medication. We can't always afford both, so usually we skip the cake, but today I wanted to give her something special. Something normal kids get. Lorenzo turned back to the four men who were sitting at their table, looking like they wanted to disappear into the floor. His expression hardened again. The softness evaporated like it had never existed. Gentlemen, your behavior today was unacceptable, but refusing to pay isn't just rudeness. It's theft. In my world, thieves lose something valuable. Their faces went pure white. Chad looked like he might vomit. Silas started crying. Actual tears. Trevor's leg bounced under the table so fast it shook the silverware. Preston tried to maintain some dignity, but his voice cracked when he spoke. What are you going to do to us? Lorenzo walked slowly back to their table, each step deliberate. When he reached them, he leaned down so his face was level with theirs. Relax. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to educate you. Mateo appeared beside him holding something. The four men flinched. It was a notebook and a pen. Lorenzo placed the notebook on the table. You're each going to write an apology to Maya. Handwritten. Detailed. Explaining what you did wrong and why it was wrong. Preston looked confused through his fear. That's it. Lorenzo's smile suggested there was more coming. If I don't believe you mean it, you rewrite it. We have all night. I cleared my schedule specifically for this. So take your time. Make it good. Make it sincere. Because if it sounds like your lawyer wrote it, or your PR person coached you, we start over. They picked up the pen like it weighed 100 pounds. Started writing. Lorenzo read Preston's first attempt. Crumpled it. Too generic. You're apologizing to a human being who you violated, not filing an insurance claim. Try again. Preston rewrote it. Lorenzo crumpled that one too. Still sounds like you're reading from a script. Tell me what you actually did. How it actually made her feel. Use your imagination if empathy is beyond you. It took Preston 4 attempts. Chad 3. Trevor 5 because his first 4 were defensive, full of excuses about being drunk or stressed or not meaning it. Silas wrote his through tears that smudged the ink and Lorenzo made him rewrite it on a clean page because Maya deserved better than tear-stained apologies. The entire process took an hour. The restaurant staff watched. Other diners stayed past their meals just to witness this. Sophia recorded parts of it on her phone. This was the kind of justice working people dreamed about, but never saw. Watching entitled rich kids forced to account for their cruelty in real time with no escape route. When Lorenzo finally approved all 4 apologies, he made them stand. Now you're going to read these aloud. To Maya. To everyone in this restaurant. Preston's face went red. You can't be serious. Lorenzo leaned close enough that only the 4 of them could hear. I'm always serious. Read. Or I make one phone call, and your father's hedge fund faces a federal investigation by Friday. I have friends who are very interested in certain accounting irregularities. Want to test me? Preston stood on shaking legs. Walked to where Maya was standing near the bar. His voice cracked when he started reading. My name is Preston Whitmore. Today I treated Maya Chun with cruelty that I'm ashamed of. I ordered food and drinks knowing I would refuse to pay. I mocked her when she asked me to honor my obligation. I filmed her humiliation for social media. I threatened her with my father's connections. I made her cry. I made her feel worthless. None of this was because of her service, which was excellent. It was because I'm a coward who uses money and privilege to hurt people who can't fight back. I'm sorry. Those words don't fix what I did, but they're all I have. Chad went next. Then Trevor. Then Silas, who could barely get through his without breaking down completely. The restaurant was silent except for their voices. Maya stood there with tears streaming down her face, unable to believe this was really happening. That someone had actually stood up for her. That consequences existed for people like this. But Lorenzo wasn't finished. He waited until all 4 had returned to their seats. Now, you 4 will return here every Tuesday for the next 6 months. Their faces showed confusion and dread. You'll eat lunch. You'll order reasonably. You'll tip 50%. Every single time. Trevor found his voice. That's thousands of dollars. Lorenzo nodded. Yes. Consider it your education in human decency. Miss a single Tuesday, and we revisit this conversation. But next time I won't be this generous. Silas actually whimpered. What if we're out of town? Lorenzo's expression suggested he'd already thought of this. Then you reschedule. You come on Wednesday or Thursday that week. But you come. You eat. You tip. You treat the staff with respect. You do this because you need to remember what you did here today. You need to remember that actions have consequences. That people aren't toys for your entertainment. That dignity matters regardless of tax bracket. Preston tried one final protest. His voice was desperate. This is blackmail. Lorenzo's laugh was sharp. No, this is accountability. Something you've never experienced. Your entire life has been one long exercise in avoiding consequences. Daddy pays off your DUIs. Lawyers make your assault charges disappear. Money smooths over every mistake. Not this time. This time you pay. You apologize. You change. Or you face something much worse than embarrassment. Preston opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out. He'd run out of arguments. Run out of authority to appeal to. Run out of ways to escape. Lorenzo nodded to Mateo, who opened the door. The 4 men stood slowly. Walked toward the exit like prisoners walking to their cells. They didn't look back. Didn't say anything. Just left in silence heavy with shame. The door closed behind them and the restaurant erupted. Not an applause exactly, but in an exhale of collective relief. Justice had been served. Not legal justice. Not official justice. But real justice. The kind that actually mattered to people who lived in the real world, where bosses sided with rich customers and police commissioners played golf with hedge fund managers, and working mothers got robbed in broad daylight with no recourse. Maya collapsed into a chair. Her legs just gave out. Sophia rushed over with water. Are you okay? Maya laughed through her tears. I don't know. Did that just happen? Is this real? Other servers swarmed her. Customers stopped by her table to shake her hand, slip her extra cash, tell her they'd been in similar situations, that they were proud of her for standing up, that they wished someone had stood up for them. Lorenzo was still there, standing near the bar, watching to make sure she was okay. Maya noticed him after a few minutes. stood on shaky legs, walked over. She didn't know what to say. Thank you felt inadequate. You didn't have to help me felt stupid. Instead, she just looked at him with eyes that held 1,000 questions. Lorenzo spoke first. Maya, I apologize you experienced that. She found her voice. You don't need to apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. He shook his head. I apologize that you work in a system where that behavior is tolerated, where bosses side with thieves, where your dignity is negotiable. That's what I'm apologizing for. She didn't know how to respond to that. Why did you help me? You don't even know me. Lorenzo's expression was complicated. I know you serve me lunch every Tuesday. You're always kind, professional. You remember my order. You bring extra bread without me asking. Those things matter. And I have a daughter. If someone treated her the way those four treated you, I'd want someone to intervene. He reached into his jacket. Maya tensed slightly, then felt guilty for tensing. He pulled out an envelope. For your daughter's birthday. Maya tried to refuse. You already helped me. This is too much. Lorenzo pressed the envelope into her hands. It's not help. It's a birthday gift. From one parent to another. Open it when I leave. He turned to go. Maya called after him. Mr. Marcetti, will I see you again? He looked back. Every Tuesday. Same time. Same table. If you're still working here. She nodded, not trusting her voice. He walked out with Matteo following. The door closed. Maya opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was $5,000 in cash. She gasped. Actually gasped loud enough that Sophia came running. What? What is it? Maya showed her the money. Sophia's eyes went wide. Oh my God. Who is he? Maya realized she didn't really know. Just a man who ate lunch here on Tuesdays. A man with enough power to make entitled rich kids apologize. A man who carried $5,000 in cash for birthday gifts to daughters of waitresses he barely knew. A man who just changed her entire life. Maya stared at the money like it might disappear if she blinked. $5,000. More than she made in 3 months. Enough to cover Lily's medication for a year. Enough for birthday cakes and new shoes and the field trip her daughter had been too scared to ask about because she knew money was tight. Sophia grabbed her arm. Maya, you're shaking. Sit down. But Maya couldn't sit. Couldn't stop moving. Energy coursed through her veins. Adrenaline mixed with relief, mixed with disbelief that bordered on hysteria. She needed to get home. Needed to see Lily. Needed to hold her daughter and tell her everything was going to be okay now. Actually okay. Not the fake okay she usually sold. She started untying her apron. Sophia's eyes went wide. What are you doing? Maya's hands moved on autopilot. I'm going home. My daughter's birthday. I'm not missing it. Sophia glanced toward the kitchen, where Gino was standing with his arms crossed watching the aftermath with an expression that mixed relief and concern in equal parts. Gino approached before Maya could leave. His voice tried for authoritative but landed somewhere near pleading. Maya, you still have 4 hours on your shift. We have a dinner rush coming. I need you here. Maya stopped moving, turned to face him with something in her eyes that made him take a step back. You need me. She repeated it like tasting the words. You needed me when those 4 men were stealing from me. Where were you then? Gino's face reddened. I was protecting the business. The Whitmore family owns this building. If I'd intervened, they could have evicted us. Maya's laugh was sharp enough to cut. Mr. Marcetti owns this building. Has for 3 years. He bought it from the Whitmores. Sophia gasped behind her. Gino's face went from red to white in seconds. What? How do you know that? Maya didn't know how she knew, but suddenly it made perfect sense. Why Lorenzo had walked in. Why he'd intervened. Why he came here every Tuesday like clockwork. This was his place. He'd been watching over it. Over the staff. Over her apparently. You sided with them, Maya said, her voice steady now, all the shaking gone, replaced by certainty that felt like steel in her spine. You told me to let them steal from me. Told me to take it out of my tips. You chose protecting yourself over protecting me. Gino tried to salvage it. I was scared, Maya. You have to understand. The business. The lease. Everything I built. Maya cut him off. I understand perfectly. You're a coward. And I'm done working for cowards. She pulled off her apron. Dropped it on the floor. Sophia made a sound like she'd been punched. Maya, you can't quit. You need this job. Maya picked up the envelope with $5,000. Held it up. I needed this job. Past tense. I need dignity more. She walked toward the door. Behind her, she heard Gino calling her name. Heard Sophia say something urgent to another server. Heard the kitchen staff asking what was happening. She kept walking. The afternoon air hit her face like freedom. She pulled out her phone, called a cab, because for once she could afford it, and riding the bus would take an hour she didn't want to waste. The cab arrived in 6 minutes. She gave her address. The driver tried to make conversation, but gave up when he realized she was crying and smiling simultaneously and probably looked unhinged. She didn't care. Pulled out her phone. Texted her mother. Coming home early. Get Lily ready. We're going shopping. Her mother responded immediately with 3 question marks. Maya sent back a photo of the cash. Her phone rang 5 seconds later. Her mother's voice was panicked. Maya, where did you get this money? What did you do? Are you safe? Maya laughed. A story happened, Mama. A crazy, impossible story. I'll tell you when I get home, but I'm safe. I promise. We're getting Lily everything she wants today. Everything. The cab pulled up to her building 20 minutes later. Maya overtipped the driver by $40 because she could and because generosity felt good when you'd been on the receiving end of someone else's. She took the stairs 2 at a time, even though the elevator was working for once. Burst through the apartment door. Lily was sitting on the couch doing homework. Looked up when Maya entered. Her face transformed. Mommy, you're home early. Maya scooped her up. Held her so tight, Lily squeaked. Can't breathe, Mommy. Maya loosened her grip, but didn't let go. Baby, we're going to get your cake. The fancy one. And new shoes. And that doll you wanted. And anything else you want because today is your day and Mommy can finally give you what you deserve. Lily pulled back. Her 6-year-old face serious beyond her years. Mommy, did you get in trouble at work? Did you get fired? Is that why you're home early? Maya's heart broke and healed simultaneously. That her daughter's first thought was trouble. That she'd been taught so young that good things came with costs. No, baby. Something good happened. Something really good. Her mother appeared from the kitchen, drying her hands on a towel. Her face showed the kind of worry that came from raising Maya through similar promises that usually ended in disappointment. Maya, what's going on? Really? No games. Maya sat down, told them everything. The 4 men. The refused payment. Lorenzo Marsetti appearing like an avenging angel. The forced apologies. The envelope. Her mother's hand went to her mouth. Lorenzo Marsetti. The Lorenzo Marsetti? You know who he is? Maya shook her head. Some businessman, I guess. Her mother's expression was complicated. He's more than that, Mija. Much more. But if he helped you, if he gave you this, then maybe he's not what people say he is. Or maybe he is, and that's okay sometimes. They went shopping. The 3 of them. Maya's mother insisted on coming to make sure Maya didn't spend it all in one afternoon, but Maya wasn't listening to caution today. They went to the fancy bakery, the one where cakes cost more than groceries. Lily pressed her face against the glass, looking at creations that seemed too beautiful to eat. The Princess Castle, the Unicorn Garden, the 3-tier chocolate masterpiece with gold leaf and fresh flowers. Pick anyone you want, baby. Lily's eyes went wide. Anyone? Even the big ones? Maya nodded. Even the big ones. Lily chose the Unicorn Garden. The baker said it would take an hour to personalize with Lily's name. They'd wait. Went to the shoe store next. Lily had been wearing sneakers 2 sizes too small that Maya kept meaning to replace, but groceries always seemed more urgent. Not today. Today, Lily got new sneakers and the light-up shoes she'd been begging for, and dress shoes for special occasions, even though they didn't have special occasions, but maybe now they would. The toy store was last. Maya had always rushed Lily through this store before. Couldn't afford to let her linger. Couldn't watch her face press against displays, knowing the answer would be no. Today the answer was yes. Lily was cautious at first, testing boundaries. Can I get this small doll? Maya said yes. Lily's confidence grew. What about this art set? Yes. The big stuffed unicorn? Yes, baby. Anything you want. Lily started crying in the middle of the toy store, big tears rolling down her 6-year-old face. The store clerk looked concerned. Maya knelt down. What's wrong, baby? Why are you crying? Lily threw her arms around her neck. Because you're the best mommy ever, and I love you, and I'm sorry we're poor, and I'm sorry my medicine costs so much, and I'm sorry I wanted cake. Maya held her daughter in the toy store aisle and cried too. We're not poor, baby. We're rich. We have each other. That's the richest anyone can be. Everything else is just extra. They got home at 6 with bags of toys and new clothes and shoes that fit, and the most beautiful cake Lily had ever seen. Maya's mother made her famous arroz con pollo. They sang happy birthday off-key. Lily blew out 7 candles and made a wish she wouldn't tell them because then it wouldn't come true. They ate cake for dinner because rules didn't matter today. Maya took photos, posted one to her Instagram. Her daughter's face covered in frosting and joy. Caption read, "Thanks to a stranger's kindness, my baby got the birthday she deserves." Tagged the location as Torino's because she wanted Lorenzo to see it somehow, though she didn't have his contact information. The post got normal engagement at first. 20 likes. Few comments from friends. Then something shifted. Someone had filmed Lorenzo's intervention at the restaurant, posted it to TikTok with dramatic music and captions explaining the context. Rich guys refuse to pay Waitress. Mafia boss walks in. Watch what happens next. The video went viral. Million views in 3 hours. 5 million by midnight. 10 million by morning. News outlets picked it up. Local channels. Then national ones. The narrative was irresistible. Powerful man defends working mother. Justice served in real time. David versus Goliath, except David had a dangerous ally. Comments flooded in. Some praised Lorenzo. Some questioned his methods. Many shared their own stories of being stiffed by customers, of bosses who sided with money over morality, of systems that protected the powerful and abandoned the vulnerable. Maya's Instagram post got discovered. Her follower count exploded. News outlets started requesting interviews. Her phone rang at 8 the next morning. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Maya Chun? A woman's voice. Professional. Clipped. This is Jennifer Walsh from Channel 7 News. We'd like to interview you about what happened yesterday at Torino's. We're prepared to offer compensation for your time. Maya sat up in bed. How much compensation? Jennifer named a figure. $500 for 30 minutes. Maya's brain calculated quickly. That was more than she made in 2 days of waitressing. She agreed. The interview happened that afternoon in her apartment. Jennifer asked about the 4 men, about Lorenzo, about how it felt to be protected. Maya answered honestly. It felt like someone finally saw me as human. Like my dignity mattered. Like the system worked, even though I know it usually doesn't. The interview aired that night. Got shared 50,000 times. Maya's face became the face of every service worker who'd ever been mistreated. More interviews came. More offers. A podcast wanted her story. A labor rights organization asked her to speak at their rally. Someone started a GoFundMe, without her permission. Raised $30,000 in a week. Maya was overwhelmed. This wasn't what she'd wanted. She just wanted to get paid for her work. Wanted to afford her daughter's birthday. Wanted basic respect. Now she was accidentally famous and didn't know what to do with it. Her phone rang again. Unknown number again. She almost didn't answer. Did anyway. A man's voice. Deep. Familiar. Maya. This is Lorenzo Marcetti. We should talk. Her heart stopped. Started again faster. Okay. When? Tonight, if you're available. I'll send a car. It's not a demand. You can refuse. But I think we should discuss what's happening. The attention you're receiving. How to handle it. Maya agreed before her brain caught up with her mouth. The car arrived at 7. Black sedan. Professional driver who didn't make conversation. Drove through parts of the city Maya rarely saw. Expensive neighborhoods where houses had gates and lawns that required full-time staff. They pulled up to a restaurant Maya had only seen in magazines. The kind of place that required reservations months in advance. The driver opened her door. Told her Lorenzo was waiting inside. Maya walked in wearing her best dress, which suddenly felt inadequate. The host greeted her by name, led her through the restaurant to a private room and back. Lorenzo sat at a table set for 2. Stood when she entered. Thank you for coming. Please sit. Maya sat. Her hand shook slightly. She clasped them in her lap. Lorenzo poured her water from a crystal pitcher. I wanted to discuss the attention you're receiving. The interviews. The media coverage. How are you handling it? Maya was honest. I don't know. It's overwhelming. I'm just a waitress who wanted to get paid. Now I'm on the news. People recognize me at the grocery store. Someone offered me a book deal. I don't know what to do with any of this. Lorenzo nodded like he'd expected this answer. The media will lose interest eventually. They always do. But while you have their attention, you have power. The question is what you want to do with it. Maya looked at him confused. What do you mean? Lorenzo leaned forward. You could go back to waitressing when this dies down. Take the GoFundMe money. Disappear in a normal life. Or you could use this moment to change things. For yourself. For other workers. The choice is yours, but I'm offering resources if you choose the second path. Maya's brain struggled to process this. What kind of resources? Lorenzo's expression was unreadable. Whatever you need. Capital to start a business. Connections to people who matter. Protection if the Whitmore family tries retaliation. I'm offering partnership, not charity. You have something valuable. A voice. A story. A moment of attention. I have resources. Together we could build something that matters. Maya should have been scared. This was a man whose reputation came with words like alleged and crime family and dangerous. But sitting across from him, she didn't feel afraid. Felt seen. Felt like he understood something about being underestimated. About having power that society wanted to ignore or criminalize or contain. What would you get out of this? She asked it directly. Lorenzo smiled. Respect. Legacy. A chance to build something that helps people instead of just taking from them. I'm not a good man, Maya. I've done things I'm not proud of. But I have a daughter, and she asked me once what I'd done with my power. I didn't have a good answer. This could be part of a better answer. Maya understood. This was redemption, or the attempt at it, using resources gained through darkness to create some light. It was messy, complicated, probably problematic in ways she couldn't fully articulate. But it was real, and real was better than perfect. Maya took Lorenzo's offer. Not because she trusted him completely, but because turning down opportunity out of fear was how people stayed trapped. They shook hands across the table in that private room, and something shifted in the universe in ways neither of them fully understood yet. Lorenzo had his team draw up papers. Not employment. Partnership. Maya would own 51% of whatever they built. He insisted on that. You need control. I'm just providing resources. What they built was something the city had never seen before. A restaurant that operated on principles most establishments claimed to follow but never actually implemented. Fair wages that didn't rely on tips. Profit sharing for all employees. Zero tolerance for customer harassment with training for staff on how to enforce boundaries. They found a location 3 blocks from Torino's. Poetic, really. Used Lorenzo's connections to navigate permits and licenses that normally took years. Had the space operational in 4 months. Called it dignity. One word. Simple. Powerful. The name alone made a statement. Opening night had a line around the block. The viral video had given Maya a platform. The media coverage had given the concept attention. But what kept people coming back was the food and the atmosphere and the feeling that eating here meant supporting something that mattered. Sophia left Torino's to become head server. Brought 3 other staff members with her. Gino tried to stop the exodus, but had no leverage. His restaurant started failing within weeks. Lost his best servers. Lost customers who'd seen the video and didn't want to support a place that sided with thieves. Within 3 months, he had to sell. Lorenzo bought the building and the business, turned it into the second Dignity location. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Where Maya had been violated, now stood a monument to what she'd built from that violation. The city noticed. Labor organizations praised the model. Other restaurants started copying elements of it. The conversation around service work shifted slightly. Not revolutionized, but shifted. That counted for something. Preston Whitmore showed up for his mandated Tuesday lunch in week 3. Walked in alone. His friends had abandoned him after the video went viral. Chad was in rehab for anxiety. Trevor had moved to California to escape the attention. Silas was living with his parents, working at his uncle's hardware store, trying to rebuild a life from rubble. Preston looked different. Thinner. Humbler. The expensive suit replaced with something off the rack. He asked for Maya specifically. She came to his table with Sophia as backup because boundaries mattered. Preston stood when she approached. Sat only after she nodded permission. His voice was quiet. I'm here for the Tuesday lunch. As required. But I also wanted to apologize. Really apologize. Not the forced one Mr. Marcetti made me write. This one's mine. Maya crossed her arms. I'm listening. Preston took a breath. What I did to you is evil. I've been in therapy twice a week, trying to understand why I thought that was acceptable. Why I thought money made me superior. Why I treated you like you weren't human. My therapist says I have entitlement issues stemming from never facing consequences. That's probably true, but it's also simple. I was cruel because I could be, because the system let me, because no one ever stopped me before. Maya studied his face, looking for performance, for manipulation, found exhaustion instead, the kind that came from real self-examination. What do you want from me, Preston? Forgiveness? He shook his head immediately. No, I don't deserve that. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be different. I got a job, real job, customer service at a call center, minimum wage. My father cut me off financially, said I needed to learn what work actually meant. He was right. I spend 8 hours a day getting yelled at by people who treat me like garbage, and I think about you every single day. About how I made you feel that way. About how many other people I've made feel that way. I can't undo it, but I'm trying not to be that person anymore. Maya felt something complicated in her chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but acknowledgement that change was possible, even for people who seemed irredeemable. She nodded once. Okay, thank you for telling me. Now order your lunch and tip appropriately. Preston's face showed relief mixed with lingering shame. He ordered, ate quickly, left a 75% tip even though the requirement was 50, left without making a scene. Sophia watched him go. Do you believe him? That he's changed? Maya shrugged. Does it matter what I believe? He's showing up, doing the work. That's more than most people do. Whether the change is real or permanent isn't my responsibility. I can only control my own choices. And I choose to build instead of destroy. That's the difference between me and him. Between Lorenzo and the Whitmore family. Power used to create versus power used to take. Sophia squeezed her hand. You're going to change the industry. You know that, right? Maya laughed. I'm going to try. That's all anyone can do. The weeks became months. Dignity expanded to 5 locations. Maya's face became synonymous with fair labor practices. She spoke at conferences, consulted with other restaurants, wrote op-eds for newspapers about systemic changes needed in service industries, used her viral moment to create lasting impact instead of fleeting fame. Lorenzo stayed in the background, provided resources and connections and protection when the Whitmore family tried legal retaliation that went nowhere because Lorenzo's lawyers were better and his connections ran deeper. Lily turned 7, then 8. Grew up watching her mother build an empire of dignity and respect. Started telling people her mom was a boss. Not just a waitress. A boss. Maya made sure her daughter never felt the shame she'd felt about their financial situation. Never had to choose between medicine and celebration. Never learned to make herself small, to fit into spaces that didn't value her. The GoFundMe money went into a trust for Lily's education. The interview payments covered their move to a better apartment in a safer neighborhood. The restaurant profits got reinvested into expansion and staff bonuses. Maya lived comfortably, but not extravagantly. Remembered too well what it felt like to count pennies. Lorenzo became a fixture in her life. Not romantic, not paternal, something else. A mentor maybe, a partner definitely. Someone who understood that redemption was a process, not a destination. He still ate lunch every Tuesday at whatever Dignity location Maya was working that day. Still tipped excessively. Still asked about Lily, who called him Uncle Enzo now, and talked his ear off about school and friends and dreams that seemed achievable because her mother had taught her dreams were allowed. 6 months became a year. The 4 men completed their mandated Tuesdays. Preston kept coming anyway, usually alone. Sometimes with his therapist's recommendation to practice being in spaces where he'd caused harm. He never asked Maya for absolution. Just showed up, ate, tipped, left. Slow, boring work of becoming better. Chad got out of rehab. Moved back to the city. Got a job teaching financial literacy to low-income families. Called it penance. Maybe it was. Trevor stayed in California. Sent Maya a check every month. $500. His way of paying back what he'd stolen plus interest. She donated it to labor advocacy organizations. Didn't want his money. Wanted systemic change. Silas opened a small bookstore. Focused on authors from working-class backgrounds. Stories that centered people like Maya. Like his younger self before privilege corrupted him. Recovery looked different for each of them. Some more successful than others. Maya tracked their progress with detached interest. Their redemption wasn't her responsibility, but their continued effort meant something. The restaurant industry didn't transform overnight, but cracks appeared in the old systems. More establishments adopted fair wage models. More workers demanded respect. More customers held businesses accountable. Maya's story became legend in service worker communities. The waitress who stood up to thieves and built an empire from that stand. Some details got exaggerated in retelling. The viral video gained mythical status, but the core truth remained. One woman refused to accept disrespect. One man with power chose to intervene. Together, they created something that mattered, that helped people, that changed conversations. Not perfectly, not completely, but meaningfully, and meaningful was enough. Maya stood in her flagship Dignity location one Tuesday afternoon, watching the lunch rush. Sophia managing the floor with practiced ease. New servers learning the model. Customers treating staff with respect because the culture demanded it. Her phone buzzed. Text from Lily at school. Mom, I told my class about how you started your business. My teacher wants you to come speak to us about entrepreneurship. Can you? Maya smiled. Texted back immediately. Of course, baby. I'd be honored. Lorenzo walked in at his usual time. Took his usual table. Maya brought him water without being asked. Sat down across from him without being invited because they were past formalities. He looked at her with something like pride. You've built something remarkable here. Maya shook her head. We built something remarkable. I couldn't have done this without you. Lorenzo's expression was complicated. I provided resources. You provided vision. There's a difference. Maya considered this. Why did you really help me that day? The truth this time. Lorenzo was quiet for a long moment. His daughter. She worked as a waitress during college. Similar thing happened to her. Group of men refused to pay. Harassed her. She called me for help. I was in prison. Couldn't do anything. By the time I got out, she quit. Moved away. Took years to rebuild our relationship. When I saw those 4 men treating you that way, I saw my daughter. Saw a chance to do what I couldn't do for her. To protect someone. To use my power for something good. Doesn't erase the bad things I've done. But it's something. Maya reached across the table. Took his hand. It's more than something. It's everything to me. To Lily. To everyone who works here. Thank you. For seeing me. For helping me. For being proof that people can choose to be better. They sat in comfortable silence. 2 people from different worlds who'd found common ground in protecting dignity. The lunch rush continued around them. Sophia handled a customer complaint with grace. A new server successfully enforced a boundary with a handsy patron. The kitchen produced excellent food under fair conditions. The register rang with profits that would be shared equitably. This was the dream. Not perfect, not revolutionary, but real, sustainable, built on principles that valued humanity over profit margins. Maya's phone buzzed again. Email from a national news network. They wanted to do a documentary about Dignity's business model, about the viral video that started it all, about service workers fighting for respect in a system designed to exploit them. Maya would consider it. Talk to Lorenzo. Talk to her staff. Make sure any attention served the mission, not just her ego. Because this wasn't about her anymore. Hadn't been for a while. This was about every worker who'd ever been treated like garbage. Every parent working doubles to afford basic necessities. Every person told their labor didn't deserve respect. Every human reduced to a transaction. Maya had been given a platform, a moment of viral attention. Resources from an unlikely ally. She turned it into something lasting, something meaningful, something that helped. Preston walked in for his non-mandated Tuesday lunch. Waved at Maya. She waved back. gestured for Sophia to take his table. He'd earned her forgiveness, not through words or apologies, but through consistent action over months. Through showing up, through changing, through becoming someone different than the monster who'd try to steal from her. That was the lesson, maybe. People could change if they chose to. Systems could shift if enough people demanded it. Power could be used to create instead of destroy. Justice could look like accountability instead of just punishment. Maya stood, straightened her dress, walked back to the kitchen to check on the dinner prep. She had a business to run, a daughter to raise, a movement to nurture, a life to live that reflected the dignity she demanded and received and now provided to others. Behind her, Lorenzo ordered as usual, tipped his usual excessive amount, sat in his corner table, watching the restaurant function like a well-oiled machine. Proof that power used correctly could build instead of destroy. That redemption was possible even for people like him. That protecting one waitress could ripple into protecting thousands. That sometimes the smallest acts of intervention created the largest waves of change. Maya learned that dignity wasn't given by others. It was demanded by yourself. That standing up for what you deserved could cost you everything or give you everything, depending on who witnessed that stand. That viral moments were fleeting, but the principles behind them could be eternal. That justice came in unexpected forms from unlikely allies. That systems changed slowly, but they changed if enough people refused to accept the status quo. She'd been a waitress who couldn't afford her daughter's birthday cake. Now she was a business owner employing hundreds. Not because she was special, because she'd refused to accept being treated as less than human. Because someone with power had chosen to intervene. Because together they'd built something that mattered. That helped. That changed conversations and conditions for people who needed both changed. That was legacy. That was redemption. That was dignity. And it started with 4 men refusing to pay a bill and 1 man deciding that wasn't acceptable. Everything else flowed from that moment, from that choice, from that stand. Subscribe right now if you believe workers deserve dignity and respect. Comment below with where you're watching from and share your own story of standing up or witnessing justice. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that standing up matters. That change is possible, that your dignity is worth fighting for. More stories of justice and transformation coming soon. You're not alone in this fight.